bracket.
What's up, everyone? Today on the Boetavia cast, I interviewed Gianni Scumaci. We spoke about different types of intelligence, working in the photography and fashion industry, and above all else, owning a global education brand. Gianni is an amazing guy and a really intelligent dude. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the clip. Gianni Scumaci, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Adam. How are you doing?
Really good. Let's just get straight into this. So, first of all, can you just tell me and anyone who's watching a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, my name is Gianni, as you mentioned. I'm a third-generation hairstylist. I currently do three things. I work in three different genres. So I work behind the chair in a salon, in the John Frieda salons here in London. I'm doing clients. I have a clientele. I do that 2 days a week. I then also, part of the rest of the week, I travel with my own brand of education. So I'm traveling, well, I was sort of globally teaching groups of hairdressers, individuals, shows, seminars, events. And the other part of the week, I work with a photographer called David Bailey, who is an iconic photographer, who I've been working with for about 11 years now in the studio. So between the studio, the salon, and the workshop space, that's how I spend my time. Prior to that, I worked, I'll go backwards. So yeah, prior to that, I worked globally as the global vision director for a brand called Joico, part-time, and I was still working on my own education, but using that brand as a platform to see how my education would be received in different continents across the world and what reached that and how it was received. So that then helped me inform me on how to produce and create my own brand moving forward independently, which is where I am now. Prior to that, I was working in fashion. So I was working for about 4 or 5 years permanently with a photographer called Tim Walker, working on editorial advertisements. Prior to that, I was working at Sassoon's, and I was their youngest creative director in the history of the company for about 10 years. Prior to that, I was in a place called Lincoln, where I'm from, and started cutting hair when I was 10. And by the time I was 12, 13, I was doing hair shows. So I'm a third generation hairdresser, my parents and my grandparents, and I grew up above a barbershop. So it's kind of in my blood.
Like, this is exactly why I asked you to come on. I knew all this already, but like, that is so sick. Like, what a repertoire of achievements. That is amazing. So let's go straight to the next question, because you smashed that one out of the park. Tell me a little bit about the photographer and the not him personally, but the photography work that you do and why you work with him and what it is that you guys do together.
Well, I was approached by Vogue magazine to work with Bailey. They recommended me to him. And he, being an iconic photographer and name, obviously I was really excited to meet him and see what the opportunity was. And really, I was brought in to do a shoot. It was a 3-day shoot for Vogue magazine with about 8 different actresses and musicians. I remember it was a specific piece in Vogue, and we had MIA, we had actresses like just trying to think who actually on that I'm getting all my shoots mixed up. We had people like Liam Gallagher. We've worked with people, Bob Geldof being an Irishman. We've worked with Prince Harry to basically Bailey shoots kind of anybody in the public eye who is of a certain reach, and he's shot everybody. There's nobody he hasn't really photographed. His work goes before him. So obviously having the opportunity to align myself and creatively work with him was great. And we did this first shoot, which went really successfully. He seemed very happy with me and the work that I was doing and asked me back, and has continued to ask me back since. So that's kind of the story and the history of it. He's an amazing person as well as photographer. He's a great teacher of mine. I've learned a lot about life, a lot about how we share a very similar approach, I think, when it comes to how we work with people. Usually a sitting with him can be an hour. So you may have a very well-known person come into the studio and they will sit down with him and he'll spend 50 minutes talking like this on a sofa. And the picture's already taken. And then he'll spend 10 minutes taking the picture. So he already works out. He wants the truth from somebody. And I guess we've connected. I've learned a lot from that. But my own personal philosophy from the very beginning was always getting beyond the superficial level and getting into the emotional state of how someone is and how I can evolve and enhance and bring value to that emotional state. And that's really what I build my brand on. It's more than hair. And I guess finding the truth in somebody in the chair and reflecting not just who they think they are, but who I think they could be, with their trust, because they understand that they'll walk that journey with me because I've got on their level, is the same as that sort of process that Bailey takes when he sits someone down on a sofa and chats with them and works out, if they're angry, he likes to capture their anger. If they're happy, he'll try to catch them smiling. He wants the truth, and it goes deeper than the picture, and mine goes much deeper than the haircut. So I think there is a synergy there between the two approaches, and it's an honor and a privilege to be able to learn from a master like him.
Wow. I genuinely have goosebumps going up my back after that explanation of everything that you just said. That's incredible. What a fortune to be able to work with somebody like that. That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was more, when you have an approach and a philosophy that you've always had, and then you meet someone who you see a similar parallel. They don't have to be in the same profession as you. You connect with them, and so it's great. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Wow. So how is it that you can go from doing that to working behind the chair and running your own education brand? How do you find the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. You have to be organized a little bit. I mean, I try to be. I've always got more room.
I'll give you that. I think you are.
Well, I've always got more room to improve, always. But I think it's a balance. Yeah, it's a balance. I'm so passionate about what I do. And it's I'm passionate about people as well as hair. So if I'm in the salon, it's really about the person, as I mentioned, how I can connect with that person on an emotional level, and go well past. I was always told when I was very young, the best piece of advice was given by, I had my first regular client was called Eddie Harris, and I was 13, and I'd be cutting his hair on a Saturday every 4 weeks. He was about 80, and he used to come. He was my first gent that would stop and wait, and then he would pass. It was a queuing. It wasn't an appointment system. He'd wait for me, and he always used to say to me, he said, "I'm going to tell you something." He said, "I never want you to forget it." He said, "You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that ratio." And that stayed with me ever since. So I think it's important that the most powerful thing that we can often do is listen. And often it's, I really am a great believer. Listen to what's not being said. Therefore you have to listen with things that are more than just your ears. And once you can get it, and, often people say, well, you can't teach that. Well, I do teach it. And it's about making people aware. Some people, like anything in life, some people are naturally drawn to something and more gifted, or more. I'm always careful with the word gifted and talented, but because I think that is you're given a talent, you haven't worked for it, and so therefore I don't think talent has much value unless you then apply it, and that's down to you, not to whoever God or whoever you believe in has given you the talent. So for me, I think it's really about letting people be aware of what they can possibly bring to the person in the chair. So that's in the salon. And then for me, it's like being on set with Bailey or any photographer that I've worked with. You're there to capture an image, and you use your ears and eyes in a different way. But it's still, again, about tuning in to the process of capturing. And I work on portraits a lot now. So it's about the person rather than a creation. And in the education environment, for me, when I'm teaching, my class is, when I was at Sassoon's, I ran the staff training, which meant I taught the salon and the teaching staff. And I never came from a teaching background, which I think has played to my advantage. I was never taught how to teach. It's a natural thing that I have learned from lots of different teachers I've had. Kickboxing, for example, I used to kickbox when I was younger, and I learned a lot from my sensei who used to kickbox. One of my great passions are sharks, great white sharks, the protection of sharks. Very, very. I've always been fascinated by them, and I've swam. I've gone diving with sharks. And there's a guy called Mike Rutson who's a great mentor of mine. Is a hero of mine, and he's sort of someone I really look up to, who's protected. He spent more time in the water with the great white shark than anybody, and he understands how to communicate with them. And the way he approaches and understands the subject that he's dealing with has taught me how I would do that with the class. So when I'm in the class, you see, I sort of look at, it's not so much the haircut that I'm interested in teaching someone, it's about giving them what they need during the journey that they take. For me, a classroom is like, I see a classroom of people, a workshop, very much like my garden. And, if I look out into my garden, which is outside my window here, I see different plants and flowers and trees. And for me, every single flower and seed and tree and thing that's living needs a different amount of attention to grow. Some need water, some need shade, some need to be left alone, some need to be nurtured and handled. So I just look at my class very much like that, and each person has their own individual thing that they need. So my job is to work that out quickly, but by the end, they're all sort of blooming and hopefully have grown. So that's my motivation to do all three different areas of this at the moment. But the idea is that I'm building a brand, the GS education brand, the GS brand, which has an education part, but it also has, the salon client part, but it also has an editorial photographic element to it. And I have a philosophy from heart to hand, and there are different processes in that. And so I am currently using my time in the lockdown to visually expand that for people to understand it better. So I'm excited.
Whoa, I am blown away with that answer. I could not have, like the last one and the answer before that, I'm like, could not be asking for better. Even the way you speak and the way you convey your points so directly translate, for me anyway, into your haircuts too. Like that's incredible. And you've already answered. I wanted to ask you, why should I go to you for your education? But if that, what you just said, isn't answer enough, I don't know what will. So I want to take it back a tiny bit though. I understand why I should go to you and why it is that you have created this incredible, not only visual representation of yourself, but there's most definitely a feeling to everything you do. Not why, but how did you start your education brand? From going to Sassoon's, how did you end up going from that into your own and creating your own brand and business and educational process?
Well, it wasn't something I started off. I didn't start my career wanting to have an educational brand. That was not my initial. I think I always saw myself when I was young, very young at the beginning, as having something inside me that from a work point of view with the hands, I knew I had a sense, should I say, I didn't know, but I had a sense that I had a certain potential that I needed to fulfill, which I chase every day. I have to honor, I feel I have to honor, I feel I've been given something because I've been, whether it's through my family, I just felt very passionate about hair. And so I felt that I really wanted to just make sure I did the best I could, be the best I could be, whatever that meant. But apart from the hands, I think from the heart, it was very much about a message and what I felt. And so for me, it was about making sure I could reach as many people with that message and I guess enhance and raise the value of the industry in the best way I could. And however that looked would be the path I would go through. So there are different platforms you can do that. I ended up leaving the hair industry. To answer your question, I ended up leaving the hair industry. I never left the salon, but I left the hair industry to go into fashion. and I went into fashion. I never left the salon. I always did part-time work behind the chair, but I ended up working with a photographer called Tim Walker and doing fashion. And so therefore I could look at the hair industry from a vantage point, look back and see it from a different angle, because hair and fashion are completely, in different camps, although there is a lot of cross-pollination. And so I'd made my platform with the hair industry. I then made my platform, worked on that with the fashion industry, and I was trying to develop myself because there are different components to make something, and I wanted to be as strong as possible. So I guess when I came back from the hair fashion industry, I decided, well, I've got all this experience from before It's Sassoon, and I have all the experience in fashion. I'd like to bring that together and create a platform that I'm in charge of. I'm not beholden to somebody else, and then I can give my experience and grow other people. I felt at the right stage to do that, and therefore I would grow because I had enough knowledge to be able to give back. And then, of course, the more weight you have on your shoulders, if you don't share it, you can't grow because it's weighing you down. So for me, it's like the more knowledge that I acquire, if I can share it, I have space to then acquire more. So for me, it was about that. Obviously, it's a business. I'm not trying to sound philanthropic when I say that, but I did have a element of following my heart into developing and seeing the hair industry that has sustained my family for many years, in a better place than when I entered it. And so that's kind of why I did it. And I decided to, how I did it was really just an evolution of creating work, being approached by people who are interested in learning from me, and then taking it step by step from there.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Just again, the way you have gone about this, the way you have done what you have done in the way you've done it is just incredible. And for somebody to, even though you're obviously doing this for yourself, and you've said that it is a business and it is monetary, you can tell just by the way you're speaking that you do really care about people. And that just kind of, you couldn't convey it any better. It comes through you in your words, but also just in the feeling from your voice that I get is just, it's incredible. So thank you for everything that you're doing. It is really good, really, really good. The next thing I wanted to ask you about was your videos. You've a round of videos coming up. Think you said there's something kind of educational towards them and some kind of giveaway for anybody who's interested in your education. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Basically, I have an online education portal. So when I was doing my workshop, as I started doing my education, I realized that I went to Apple because I had a problem with one of my computers. And I'm all the gear, no idea. I have everything from a watch to a phone to a laptop, all Apple. And my team were like, we have a problem. I said, look, I'll go. I paid my good money. I, took a day off, went into the Apple store, had a one-to-one for a few hours with a really great guy. He showed me everything. I made notes, solved my problems, walked out, and I thought I was Steve Jobs, and I knew everything. I called my team. I said, look, guys, it's all sorted. When we meet next week, I'll take you through it all. We met next week. We sat down. I looked at my notes. I could remember 3 things. That was it. And I thought, does that happen to my students when they come to me? They get a lot of information. They pay their money, their good money. They come on their day off or a dedicated day to train, or week, or however long the course is. Do they walk away with all this knowledge and then they get to the salon the next day and think, what did he say? And it really made me upset. I was really upset about it because I thought they probably do have that. That does happen, because if it happened to me, I'm sure it'll happen to other people. And so I decided to create an online platform of my haircuts that are step by step. And I was very, very conscious about narrating them myself, so it would prepare people to. The idea is that when they've done the course, it would protect their investment, because they could go back, watch the videos, and it would remind them of me being with them. So my voice would be also a reminder, because it would be a subliminal, subconscious thing. And they could then pick up the information and apply it, and also share it with their salon team members. And I remember I made it a really high end. They're very high end. I imported mannequin heads from Japan. I got a huge film crew. we used the studio I'd shot the Valentino campaign, and it was basically a big production. And I made my online courses, which I'm really excited, and they've gone viral. I mean, they're helping hairdressers in now 41 countries worldwide, and you know, they've really taken off. And they're called the Discover series, and they're the foundational haircuts. So they're all, people do get a little bit confused with the fact that foundation means simple and easy. They're probably the most challenging to create, but I try to break it down and simplify it, so it helps people, because a lot of people have gaps in their knowledge. I have gaps in my knowledge. I mean, most people do. So the idea of this is very comprehensive. So it fills in everybody's gaps, wherever you are on the spectrum. And so I've got this course called the Discover course. It's foundational, as I say, a foundational haircutting course. And you can find that online at courses.gianniscumaci.com. Really easy to remember. Maybe we could leave a
100%. Yeah, 100%.
or something there. And it's a brand new portal that I've just launched, which I'm very excited about. And so in that as well are my other videos that I have, which I'm giving as part of the package of a subscription. And I really wanted to make it, Adam, to put it, you know, I'm probably a little bit older than you, to say the least. So, you know, when I was starting out, a video, a VHS or a DVD was really expensive. And if you're an assistant or a young stylist, you couldn't really afford it. You have to wait for your salon owner to have it. Whereas I made these, like, you know, it works out at about 33 pence a day. There's no contract, you know, it's a monthly thing. You can stop at any time, but it means that anybody really can access, including assistants, can access this work. And I really wanted that to be accessible. And people, I've just done a new offer as well. So you can actually have the whole thing for a year for £99. So it's like a full year's access, which is like, I've done it for COVID because obviously people are, you know, struggling. And I'm also doing a giveaway. So in the next few days, I'm going, if you people keep an eye on my social media, which my Instagram is at Gianni Scumaci, and I'm going to be I'm going to be giving away for a period of 2 to 3 days a free viewing of one of my haircuts in there, the triangle graduation. So that will be for anybody who's at home, to help hairdressers stay engaged and motivated and inspired during this lockdown. You know, I've never been stronger than I am now. I'm really strong, and I'm so much so that I've decided to turn my studio at home, which is the bottom of my garden, which is where I'm sat now, into a photographic filming studio. And I'm filming my next round, my create haircuts. And some of the haircuts you were talking to me about, or some of the work you were describing to me before we came on air about the softness, all of that is going to be done step by step. I'm just preparing to film it now. So I'm very excited. I've got all the high-end equipment. So I'm trying to stay engaged and, you know, lead and stay inspired rather than expired during this period.
Wow. Like, everything, like I said, that you're saying, I'm finding it very hard to come back at you straight away in a normal conversational style, because you've blown me away with every answer so far, and I can't believe that we've already been speaking for a half an hour. That's incredible, Gianni. I have known about the Discover and the creative is now the next.
Create.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Discover, Create, and Evolve, and this is the Create.
Okay, so the Create idea, amazing. I'm very excited to hear about the Evolve when that is ready. Like I said, we've already hit 30 minutes, and I mean, I could sit here and talk to you for another hour about all of these things. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. Thank you so much for sharing what you shared, but also thank you for what you're doing for the hairdressing industry, because not only is this everything that I want for this project, and to show not only hairdressers but everybody that there are minds like this, like yours, in the hairdressing industry that are incredible, that are intelligent. Not only, like, you clearly have a severe level of intelligence in creativity and in visual aspects, but your social intelligence, your emotional intelligence, and even your not literal literacy, your, oh, what's the word that I'm looking for? Your vocabulary and your eloquence are just insane. and you've clearly put a lot of time into everything that you do. And I'm just really, really blown away. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. And like I was saying to you, this whole project was meant to be a visual thing, and I was meant to actually do a haircut and color with somebody and kind of create a bit of a videography, something that is educational but also fun and looks great. And when all of this blows over, and when you have a bit of time out of your busy schedule, and when we're all kind of like back and settled down after being behind the chair, after looking after all of our clients, after all this, if there is a chance that we could make that happen and do a haircut or a color together and create something like that, I would love that, because I've really thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I've really thoroughly enjoyed everything about this, and I'd love to actually get to do it in person. And like you said with that thing about your first regular client that was talking about you have 2 ears and 1 mouth using that ratio, that is definitely something that I'm going to bring from what we have just discussed today. And you've really taught me a different way of not only looking at the work that I do and my clients and the things that I'm doing, but also a different way to kind of look at myself and a different way to go about not just doing hair, not just creatively, but as a person. And that is just phenomenal. I was not expecting to get something like this out of this conversation. So thank you very much.
That's all right. Well, I jumped when you contacted me, and I saw that what you wanted to do, the reason why you wanted to do this interview, to show how hairdressers have different forms and different forms of intelligence. And that was one of the key reasons for me doing it. I do give a talk, I have done now for the last few years, on the hidden intelligence of a hairdresser. And I've spoken at Apple and at Nike because I was looking for sponsors outside of the hair industry to sort of a larger platform for hairdressers to look back at themselves. And so, yeah, I speak a lot. I'm very passionate about how hairdressers view themselves, because I think this industry will actually only really move forward when we see ourselves differently rather than the general public. And so the fact that, you know, in your own way, you're passionate to try to get that message out is great. So thank you for having me on.
No problem. And I'm glad that we share that together. And I'm sure that in the future, that is definitely something that not only the wider public will know, but yes, definitely the confidence and the passion to be built up inside us and everybody else in the hairdressing industry is definitely something that we will continue to push on and create eventually.
Great to speak with you.
Gianni, thank you very much.
Thank
I'll
you.
send you over the stuff later on in the week. You've been an absolute pleasure. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care, Adam. Cheers.
That's it for today's clip. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Gianni is a super smart dude, and I learned so much from that chat with him. I hope you did too. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next clip.